My name is Elena Vargas and I am 35 years old. Only family, nothing of strangers, said my father-in-law as he disinvited me from their 40th anniversary cruise. I smiled, of course. Then I called the cruise line as the owner of the card that paid the $30,000 deposit. The night it all began, I wore a carefully chosen navy blue dress. Not to impress but to blend in. I had always been that way with Matteo's family. Quiet, proper, present, yet never fully accepted. From the outside anyone would say we had everything. A stable relationship, a solid commitment, wedding plans underway. But inside those elegant walls and perfectly served dinners I remained the permanent guest. Don Javier Castillo was a man of few words. But those words made it clear who held the power. From the beginning he evaluated me like a high-risk investment. He never liked my independent career, my direct way of speaking, or the fact that I did not need his son to survive. That afternoon when they mentioned the anniversary cruise, everyone seemed excited. It was a luxury trip they had been planning for months. I had even helped organize part of the itinerary, searching options and comparing prices. I found the best deal, and when it was time to pay the deposit I used my card. Matteo told me we would settle it among everyone later. I never questioned it. But during dinner that night Don Javier dropped the phrase as if it meant nothing. Only family, nothing of strangers. At first I thought it was a joke. No one laughed. I felt the silence press against my chest. I looked at Matteo expecting him to speak, to correct his father. He lowered his gaze. That was all I needed to understand. So I am not going? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Don Javier shrugged. It is not personal, it is an intimate event. Not personal, that phrase is always personal. I nodded slowly and smiled, not because I felt fine, but because in that moment I understood something important. They had already decided who I was to them, and I was about to decide who I would be to them from now on. Of course, I said. The conversation continued as if nothing had happened, as if they had not just erased me from a plan I helped build. As if the real money I had put down did not matter. That night I did not argue with Matteo. I did not make a scene. I did not cry. I simply went home, took off my shoes, and sat in silence. There is an exact point when pain turns into clarity, and once it arrives you no longer doubt. I opened my email and found the cruise confirmation. There was my name, my card, the $30,000 deposit. Everything legal, everything clear. I took a deep breath and picked up the phone. The woman at the cruise line was kind, professional, and efficient. Good evening. How may I help you? I would like to make a modification to a reservation, I said calmly. I gave her the details. Yes, I see the deposit here. What change would you like? I looked at the screen one more second. I was not nervous, nor angry. It was something colder, more precise. I want to cancel the entire package. There was a pause. Are you sure? There is a cancellation policy. I know it. Please proceed. They tell you revenge is impulsive, born from anger, but that is not true. True revenge is patient, calculated, and silent. While they processed the cancellation, I thought of every time I had tried to fit in. Every awkward moment, every comment disguised as advice, every time I chose to stay quiet. Done, she said finally. The partial refund will be processed according to the terms. Perfect. Thank you. I hung up and stared at nothing for a few seconds. I felt no immediate relief, no satisfaction, only a strange sense of balance. Because it was never about the money. It was about respect. The next morning Matteo called me. We need to talk about last night. His voice sounded tired, as if he were the one who had been hurt. There is not much to talk about, I replied. My father did not mean it badly. Matteo, I interrupted. There is no need to justify him. Silence. So what do we do? He asked. That was the wrong question. I do not know, I said, but I know what I will not do. I will not beg for a place where they clearly do not want me. I will not finance experiences that exclude me. I will not keep pretending this is normal. I did not tell him about the cancellation yet, not because I doubted, but because I wanted to see how far his silence would go. The following days were quiet. Too quiet. No one mentioned the cruise. No one apologized. No one corrected anything, and that confirmed everything. Because when someone shows you who they are, they do it with what they choose not to change. I had already made my decision and they still did not know that theirs had just cost them much more than a vacation. The days after the call to the cruise line were strangely silent. As if the Castillo family home was waiting for something it had not yet realized had already changed forever. No one spoke of the trip, yet everyone acted as if it was still happening. I continued with my normal life, working, replying to short messages, observing without intervening. Matteo tried to get closer, but every conversation felt like walking around something broken without wanting to step on the glass. Until one afternoon his mother called. Her voice was different, less confident, with an attention she did not usually show. She asked if I had seen any strange charge on my card or if something had happened with the cruise reservation. I feigned calm surprise and said I did not understand what she was talking about. There was a long, uncomfortable silence until she admitted that the agency had requested confirmation of the final payment and that something did not add up. The $30,000 deposit appeared as cancelled. In that moment I knew the chaos had begun without me needing to add more noise. Only family, nothing of strangers. That phrase they had thrown at me like a door slammed in my face was now bouncing inside their own home. The cruise, which was meant to be a symbol of family unity, had become an administrative problem. Unanswered calls, urgent emails from the company seeking clarification. I did nothing more. I did not need to. The decision had been made the day they erased me from a plan I had helped pay for. 2 days later Matteo showed up at my apartment unannounced. His face looked exhausted, as if he had not slept for nights. He did not come in immediately, standing at the door hesitating. Finally he said the cruise was at risk of full cancellation if they did not resolve the payment issue. He looked at me searching for a reaction that would get him out of the problem. But I did not move. I calmly asked if his father had called to apologize. He did not answer. That was enough. He told me Don Javier was furious, claiming it was a system error, and that I had to fix it because the card was in my name. That word, fix it, made me smile inside because it was not a system error. It was a consequence. I told Matteo I had already spoken with the company and the reservation had been correctly cancelled under my authorization as the payment holder. His face changed. It was the moment he understood it was not a misunderstanding, not something fixable with a family conversation. It was a firm decision. During the following days the tension exploded inside the family. I learned through others that Don Javier had faced uncomfortable calls, that the agency could not reactivate the package without a new full deposit, and that the price had increased due to availability changes. The trip that was supposed to be a celebration had become a financial problem. And most importantly, it no longer depended on me. One of those nights I received a message from Matteo's mother. It was not kind, but neither was it direct. It said that family matters are solved by talking and that I had reacted in an exaggerated way. I did not reply because I had already understood something important. They were not reacting to having been excluded with me, but to the consequences of losing something they had taken for granted. Respect was not part of the equation until the money disappeared. The breaking point came the day the cruise was officially cancelled, not because of drama or argument, but for lack of final payment. The entire family gathered for a tense dinner where no one wanted to look at anyone. Don Javier finally asked if I intended to fix what I had done. It was the first time I spoke in front of everyone. I reminded him of the phrase they had said at that same table. With the same calm they had used, only family, nothing of strangers. Then I explained that I had simply respected exactly that. If I was not family, then it made no sense for me to be part of something I was financing. No one responded. This time the silence was not mine. It was theirs. Matteo tried to intervene but stopped halfway. I knew the story between us was no longer the same. Not because of shouts or scenes, but because something essential had broken beyond repair. The idea that they could include me when it suited them and exclude me when it did not. That night I walked out of there without waiting for apologies. Outside it was cold, but for the first time in a long time I felt no weight in my chest. It was not happiness. It was not emotional revenge like in the movies. It was something simpler and clearer. Balance. They had wanted a celebration without strangers and now they had exactly that. Only family, without the cruise, without the trip, without what they had taken for granted. And I finally, without the place where they had never truly wanted me. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.